I'm Dowd-Higgins. Thank you for listening to Your Working Life, my podcast series featuring thought leaders in the career and personal growth arena. You spend a significant portion of your life at work, so my goal is to provide you with tools, inspiration, and resources so you can enjoy your career and love your life. And I am thrilled to welcome my very special guest to the show today, DiGeronimo. JJ, welcome. I'm so thrilled to have you on.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
I am too. Well, listen, let's dive into a juicy conversation, but I want to tell our listening audience all about you. DiGeronimo is the president of Tech Savvy Women, an international organization of experienced women in tech careers and organizations. She began her career designing data center infrastructures for Fortune 500 companies after graduating with a computer information systems degree. And prior to her recent work, JJ had a 20-year career in high tech, positioning new technology solutions to CIOs, where she advanced the leadership positions within Silicon Valley-based technology companies, including VMware and Inktomi. All right, her brand new book, very exciting, is called Accelerate Your Impact: Action-Based Strategies to Pave Your Professional Path. Now, JJ, even though you are a tech-savvy woman and a leader in that career sector, your information is relevant and pertinent to all career women. So let's start though. What prompted you to write this book?
Yes, great question. So I wrote my first book after starting my Tech Savvy Women group in 2008. I had so many fantastic conversations with professional women, and I found a lot of us were trying to juggle all the things that many people would call having it all. And for many of us, that was very challenging. And so my first book, The Working Woman's GPS, which stands for Goals, Purpose, and Self, was a great launching pad for this book, because I feel like you have to sort of get yourself in order to really create the impact you want. And so this is a complementing book to my first book, because it really shares with you very specific strategies in the professional sphere to help you create a path to make your desired outcomes a reality.
And I love that, JJ, as a coach, and I see you as a coach in this scenario as well. You're guiding women and you're giving them very, very purposeful action steps. And, you know, as a reader, I want specifics. I want to know how I can make an impact in my life today, and this book does that. So what's the audience? You know, again, you have this technology expertise, but the book definitely applies to other women. So who should be reading this?
Well, you know, I'm in my 40s, and I would say that through my 20s, it was pretty easy to move from, you know, one role to the next, or get promoted, or take on new projects. But then as I moved into my 30s, and looked up or to the side, because many of us do take lateral moves, I noticed that it wasn't always as easy to move around or get aligned to the projects that were important to me. And as I was moving through my 30s, I realized that, you know, there are unique challenges and opportunities and some pitfalls for professional women. And so this book is really geared towards women in their 30s and 40s and even some in their 50s that are really looking to get more focused to really create the impact they desire. And a lot of times you can't do that alone. And the book really incorporates very specific strategies on how to increase your relevance, how to boost your self-efficacy, how to invest in your network, and engage coaches, mentors, and sponsors to help you cultivate the community around you that is often necessary to help you catapult forward.
Oh, I love that. And I love the visual image of catapulting forward. Well, the beauty is your target audience is my target audience. So I know they're just going to read this book and get so much from it. So let's talk about a few nuggets. You mentioned impact and relevance. Is self-confidence also part of what you write about?
I do write about self-confidence, and, you know, I do it in a unique way. I reference about 110 different articles, books, blogs. In the book, I've mentioned several of your blogs and articles over the years, and it really is, you have different bubbles of self-confidence. And for many of us that have been doing work or the same work for a while, obviously our confidence level is much higher in that area. But as you move into new projects or new groups or new initiatives, we often are uncertain about our own capacity and alignment in those areas. And so we talk a lot about the self-efficacy equation, and that's about having a vision about where you want to go and believing you can get there. And that is actually very important to women who stay in the industry and actually excel, because there's going to be many pitfalls, there's going to be many opportunities that you're not going to know what you're doing. But if you can believe in your own capabilities and the idea that you've accomplished many goals in the past and you can push through this one too, it often is the platform necessary to grow and stretch in new directions.
And JJ, I'm so grateful, not only as a colleague out in the world, but as a coach, where you're stretching women. That's such an important phrase, and asking, where do you want to go? Because so often women get stuck in that rut, and the momentum just stops, and the where do I want to go question is essential. So thank you for encouraging women to always check in and ask themselves, what's next?
Yeah, it's really important. And I always say, even a GPS, you can only use GPS if you know where you are and where you want to go. And I've included over 20 charts in the book that were really specific. One are on just managers. What managers have you liked to work for? Which managers have probably stifled your growth? What projects are you aligned to? What type of view do they have to the executive sphere? And what impact do they have to the business? And then a lot about yourself and what motivates you and where you spend your time today. And I think all of these charts, individually and a combination, are incredibly insightful to create a vision of where you want to go next.
So let's talk about relevance. You talk about gauging your relevance in the book, and that is really interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, this was more of a personal story. I had actually taken on a job that I had never done before. I wanted to have children, but realized that it's very difficult to have kids when you're not in the same city as your spouse.
Yep.
So I took a job in sales, which I had never done before. I've always been in the data center or in a technical realm, but it was the only role that I could do that I didn't have to travel, since I was based in Cleveland working out of Silicon Valley. And so I raised my hand. I did that job until my kids started sleeping through the night, which wasn't until about 4 years, which still irks me that no one told me that would be the case, but maybe it's better. So after about 4.5 years, I raised my hand for that next position, to go back into a technical role, to go back into a corporate lead role. And I was kindly told, thank you, but no thank you. And it was really the first time in my career that I wasn't even given the opportunity to interview. And it didn't really dawn on me at the time, but most of the people, in retrospect, saw me in the role that I was in. My brand was associated with where I was and not where I wanted to go. And so after a few weeks of being disappointed, angry, frustrated, I started on a personal mission to interview or get to know, whether it's indirectly or directly, the people that already had those types of roles across the industry. And so I used LinkedIn to research all the people that already had similar roles for where I wanted to go next. And I realized that, I really wasn't relevant for where I wanted to go next. I had a great rapport and a great brand for where I was, but I didn't really have the relevance of where I want to go next. So people couldn't see me in that new role, which likely closed the door for me before it even opened. And so I spent the next 9 to 12 months really increasing my relevance. And I read articles, and I participated in meetings, and I read product documentation, and I invited product managers. And each week I did very specific things that I outline in the book to make myself really start to look and feel of the characteristics of where I wanted to go next. And that is an investment, but often necessary to evolve your brand, to really pave that path for other people to help champion you along the way.
JJ, I love, love, love that story because so many women listening are saying, you know what, I'm contemplating a change, or I've been in a particular role for a long time and I'm stalled out and I want to do something differently. And you described so beautifully reality versus perception. So whether or not anyone has the skills and the experiences, how people perceive you from the current role or your dossier of materials is how they determine if you are relevant. So thank you for sharing that story and the very specific action steps about how you did ramp up and change that brand story. And clearly there was a happy ending there, yeah?
Yes, there definitely was. And all the steps that I've taken and all the relevant content, like articles that echoed some of the things that I've learned, what I did on my social media pages, which was absolutely critical
Oh, yeah.
in the process. I lay all of that out in the book so that women can really have a to-do list. They create their own to-do list based on their own goals, based on where their own gaps are. With where they want to sort of foster and flourish next.
Excellent. And it's okay to have gaps, right? We can fix those. We can fill those gaps. So just so the audience understands, this is normal and expected, but there's a way to navigate around them. And JJ, you are a terrific resource. So, we hear so often that it's important for women to join boards. We're unrepresented. How do we start that process? Because it's pretty daunting to think, okay, I need to be on a corporate board. Where do I begin?
It's so interesting because I just had a call with a group out of Canada, and they're mandating some diversity in the boards, and now they're working to help women figure out how do I actually make this a reality. And what I did, instead of laying out very specific steps, I interviewed about 8 or 9 women that are already on boards, and I asked them very specific questions of what steps were necessary for them to get that invitation to interview to eventually get on that board. And it was really, really insightful for me too. And I find that, when I'm trying to figure things out, I always go to people that are already there to figure out what are the steps they've taken. And so what I would encourage women to do is ask some people that are already in your network that are on boards, how did you get on the board? Excellent. Now, what I found was that many of the women that I interviewed for the book, they got engaged in a committee, they got engaged in an initiative that was important to that organization before they were even offered to, lead a committee and then eventually join the board. Most of the women that I've interacted with in my career have participated in nonprofit boards, which have provided a ton of leadership and insight to the financials and bottom line and getting things off the ground. And a few have jumped over to the corporate side. But nonprofit is just as effective for people to round out their leadership skills, expand their network, and make a difference. So, I'm always a big believer in going after things you believe in and that you naturally align to, and then making the difference in those areas.
And I so agree, because the concept of being on a corporate board can often be daunting for those at the beginning or mid-level of their career. They feel, perhaps I'm not ready, I don't have enough experience. So cut your teeth on those community boards or those nonprofit boards. I couldn't agree more. The leadership growth development opportunities are incredible, and they will empower you with very tangible competencies that are transferable to your career and then eventually to those highly sought after corporate boards. Good stuff, JJ. I'd love to hear more about Tech Savvy Women and what inspired you to start that.
Yeah, so it wasn't like I had a ton of time. I had a full-time job over 60 hours. I was traveling. I had 2 kids under the age of 3. But I found that I needed a group of women that could understand my life. And I did try to go to church groups and book clubs and different, parties they have at the home and even girls' night out. But it really, for me, with my insane life and pace, I felt that I was sitting there like, just buzzing in my chair. I really needed to be around more like women that could understand all the things I was juggling and what I was hoping to do with my life and my career. And so I pulled together just a handful of women. The first time I bought some wine and we got together and we had a great discussion, most of which had nothing to do with technology. But many of us either work in a technology company or in a technology role. And many of us understand the demands and timelines and just the pace of which the life we live in and how that impacts everything at home. We shared ideas and thoughts. Many have stayed connected, and the group has grown to thousands of women across the country. And the great thing is it's not essentially a formalized group, so you can pop in and out as you want. But it provides a safe haven for discussions that we can't have with our peers, since most are men. Not that we don't have a lot of great men sponsors and advocates, but sometimes we just need people that can understand what's happening in the home and out of the home. And so Tech Savvy Women has been a really great place for me and many of the women to find comfort, reassurance, new roles, and new opportunities. And I really pride myself on quality people. And I have to tell you, I have just met the most fantastic people through this initiative.
Well done. Well done. And I know you're helping build these incredible communities with women around the world who have benefited from you and others. So well done. So let's take a little detour, JJ. You referred to the beautiful chaos that is being a working professional woman with kids. And the truth is, we need a safe space to be able to talk about that. And it is beautifully chaotic, as you described, but any tips or thoughts, and thank you for admitting, yeah, it can be a little nuts sometimes.
It can be. And I think, depending on what age, I mean, my kids are now close to 10, both of them, and I feel like it's gotten a little bit easier than before, but now it's all the, drop-offs.
It's different, yeah.
Those things. But I talk about the power of no, and I talk about that in both books because I feel like women have never really been effectively taught on how to take on commitments. And we are often trained from an early age to say yes to everything because we want to please people, we want them to like us, we don't want to feel guilty. And we overcommit our schedules to a lot of things that don't directly align to either where we are or where we want to go. And so I would encourage many of the women listening to Google the power of no in my name, JJ DiGeronimo. I have videos and shows, and in both books I have very specific charts that really help women focus on less for the opportunity to achieve more. And one of the most simplest things I can share from that is that in my own life, I have learned to outsource, delegate, and hire for things that, when I think about it, are not the best use of my time. And I'm not very crafty. I'm not very domestic in the house. And so cooking and decorating and those types of things do not come naturally to me. But writing books and talking and engaging and promoting women is something that does. So I have given myself permission to hire people that can come in and help me. Now, I didn't always have the type of revenue streams that I do now, so I did start off bartering with my neighbors and my family. I'll do this, you do that. But then as I've become more successful in my career, I've actually hired more women to help me. And I feel like that advances women as a whole, not just women I work with. And women come in and help me decorate for the holidays. It's not something I enjoy, but the women I hire love it. I get to give them money for their gifts for their family and friends, and I get to work on something that I like to do. And so I really am picky and choosy on where I spend my time and really cognizant, is this the best use of my time, or can I outsource it and create more momentum elsewhere?
Love that. Great entrepreneurial mindset that we can use even if we don't have our own business. What can only we do, right? Think about those high-level areas of expertise and what else can we outsource. Great advice, JJ. So I know you have been a champion for girls and young women pursuing STEM careers, and I know you've had incredible mentors and sponsors in your career lifetime. So what advice would you give to the girls and the young women, and how can we encourage more of them to consider STEM?
Well, so STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And, I always talk to girls about what do you like to do, what excites you. And what I find is that there is a career for almost every creativity or outlet or interest or desire. It's interesting because I think a lot of women think it's only coding and It's only web design or game design, but we need content. Everybody needs content. They need design. They need layout. They need legal services. They need marketing services. They need communications and sales. And so what I often tell girls is get a minor. If you're not interested in getting a major in computers or any type of technology or engineering or science and math, to get a minor. Because the idea is you want to be able to open certain doors when you graduate. And the doors right now that are wide open are doors that are associated to science, technology, and engineering. And even if you get a minor, you still have those doors half cracked to get into, because I talked to a lot of women about financial independency.
Yes, yes.
And women make more money. I mean, most women make about 77 cents for every dollar a man makes. But in STEM careers, women make 92 cents. And there is a career for just about everybody in science, technology, engineering, and math, but you have to get a degree or you have to get a certification to open those doors. And I really am a big advocate for just creating opportunities to open doors, and then you can decide whether or not you want to go through them now or later.
Brilliant, brilliant. So let's talk about the book. How can we get a copy of the book? Accelerate Your Impact: Action-Based Strategies to Pave Your Professional Path.
Well, I am so excited for women to get this book. It has so many action-based strategies, regardless of where you are in your career, regardless of what is next for you. If you just want to take on more projects in your existing role, if you want to stretch into a new committee or a new initiative, or even join a board, and you can find the book on Amazon or on my website, DiGeronimo, or on Tech Savvy Women. And I think all of those options are available, and you can even get a few chapters for free if you're interested in just wanting to check it out to make sure that the content resonates with you. We really hope that women will embrace the content, embrace the charts, and give us feedback. We're really looking at how are you using the book and what is it doing for you.
Oh, JJ, you're such an inspiration. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your expertise and this extraordinary book. You are so prolific in how you share content in the world. Tell us more about Tech Savvy Women website and how we can follow you online. I mean, you're out there, my dear, and people need to connect.
Right. So I would always say to Google me, JJ DiGeronimo. Google me. I have a LinkedIn page and two websites. One, JJ DiGeronimo. The second, Tech Savvy Women. And we are really working to get both women and men that are looking to pull women forward, the content, the tools, and the strategies to make that happen. Because we really believe in the benefit of thought diversity, not only for individuals, but for businesses. And we look forward to sharing these strategies with you.
Well, my dear, you are a rock star, and I am so grateful for everything you do, and I share all of your resources with my clients, and I'm thrilled to showcase you on the show so we can reach millions of women around the world. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. This has been fantastic.
Take good care, my dear. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in to Your Working Life, where my goal is to help you design your career destiny so it doesn't happen by default. Career and life satisfaction is possible, and it's time to embrace what you love doing so you can do more of it. My show is now available on iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, and Stitcher. Leave a comment because I always appreciate hearing from my listeners. I'm Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Take good care.